No, we are not satisfied, and we will not be satisfied until justice rolls down waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. That was just a piece from the Martin Luther King dream speech, guys, because today we're going to be talking about Paladins. Yep, we're going to be using Player's Handbook, 3rd edition. Here's a picture they provide for the Paladin. And I just picked that little part of the speech because I thought it sounds like something a Paladin should be saying or should be following. And we'll get right into it, and I'll read a short description about the Paladin. Divine power protects the Paladin and gives them special powers. It wards off harm, protects them from disease, lets them heal themselves, and guards their heart against fear. The Paladin can also direct their power to help others, healing their wounds or curing diseases. Finally, the Paladin can use this power to destroy evil. Even the least experienced Paladin can detect evil, and more experienced Paladins can smite evil foes and turn away undead. In addition, this power draws a mighty steed to the Paladin and imbues the mount with strength, intelligence, and magical protection. Alright, let's just get right into talking about Paladins now that you have the description of them. Paladins are warriors of good, justice, light, holiness, you know, everything good, like that knight in shining armor, white knight type person. I just finished watching some of Anders' videos about Paladins. I'll leave links to those in the description. And it really got me thinking about Paladins, and I was like, hey, I might as well make a video on Paladins. I have done a lot of DMing of Paladins, mainly because one of my players really loves Paladins, and he plays them a lot, and they're one of my favorite classes. Although, I'll agree with Anders when he says that Paladins can be done completely wrong and ruin a game, but I've also had experiences where they can be done completely right and make the game. Like sometimes, when a Paladin's in my game, that's a really good motivator for the team to follow the storyline against, like the plot line against something evil, and it's also good to, you know, be a supportive moral character to the players, but it can make the other party members a little bit limited in some ways. But my very first game I ever ran with them, we had the lawful good Paladin, a chaotic good fighter, and I think it was a true neutral or neutral good bard, all together in one party, and they went all the way up to like level 16 or 17. And although they did get in a lot of scuffles and arguments and fights along the way, but it all made it just more enjoyable for everybody all around, because it adds more depth to the characters. I mean, your characters don't always have to be friends all the time. I wouldn't suggest trying to make them kill each other unless that you find everybody can agree on the PvP, but that's a completely different subject. About Paladins. A Paladin should be, well, they don't always have to be merciful, but the ideal Paladin, like an Exalted Paladin, mercy, forgiveness, being just, not letting crimes go unpunished, but not being harsh and cruel about it. A Paladin's mount should have a special bond with their mount, and the mount does not have to be a warhorse. The warhorse is done a lot, and I've even done it before, but it doesn't have to be. I'm really planning on future Paladins getting mounts according to their deities. Like, I had an idea for a Paladin of Torm to get a golden dragon egg and raise it and hatch it into a wormling and then raise the dragon like that. It would take a while, and the dragon would definitely outlive the Paladin, but I mean, you'd have a much stronger connection with the mount then. It wouldn't just be your mount anymore, it would be your friend, your companion, your cohort, like that, instead of just a horse you ride around and pimp out with cool armor and stuff like that. And as for Paladins themselves, in my games, I try to, you know, keep a good code of the Paladin, a good strict Paladin code. Don't let them wander off the different alignments. Like the lawful good, that's what a Paladin is. It's lawful good. I don't really like the idea of Paladins being of other alignments. That's what, like, Blackguards and Divine Champions and stuff like that, you can go with that, but the Paladin is the core goodness. They are all about justice, they're all about good, helping others, and sometimes a Paladin code could come into contradiction with the dogma of the deity. And that's when the Paladin has a really hard time, because they have to choose between their code and their dogma. I think the Paladin should always choose the code, always choose the right thing. Don't be swayed by any religious beliefs or anything anybody else tells them. If it's not the right thing, don't do it as a Paladin. Of course, there can be fallen Paladins, corrupt Paladins, and troubled Paladins and such, but Paladins in the core should have caring and understanding for all living creatures, good or evil. And it's always an interesting thing when a Paladin falls and becomes a Blackguard or some other class, or evil cleric or something like that. Or it's also cool when an evil person turns over and becomes a good person. Like that, maybe a Paladin starts off good, falls to a Blackguard, then comes back to being good again. I mean, that's a massive character change throughout the character's life, and it can be really interesting and really awesome for the player and the DM and everybody involved to hear that kind of story unfold. I agree with Ander when he was talking about the Paladin mount, how it shouldn't just be given to him and come out of nowhere. Have to go on a quest for it. And yet the quest should take a little while. I mean, especially depending on what mount you give them. You might want to make it shorter or longer depending on how powerful their mount is, so you can kind of scale their level to it and not completely ruin the balance of your game. And there's some things I've seen with Paladins where they can be really, really strong combatants, or they can be pretty weak combatants depending on what you put them up against. I put one of my Paladins up against demons, and he was an Exalted Paladin with a prestige class of Fist of Raziel, and he dominated demons everywhere. And then flip side, you put him up against like a fighter, and the fighter has the obvious melee advantage against the Paladin. The Paladin's good at melee combat, but the fighter lives for melee combat. That's where Paladin spells have to come in, and their fate comes in and stuff. That's the only way they would stand a chance against someone like that, other than really lucky rolls. And as for what Paladins should be acting like in societies, like I've said, they're the goodly people. They don't have to be 100% perfect all the time, anytime. They can have their flaws and their negatives, but at the core, the Paladin cares about people. He should go help this homeless guy who's getting mugged in an alleyway. He shouldn't just walk past it and then ignore it and the such. And another cool thing about Paladins is they do get divine spells, not as much as a cleric, and they couldn't even hope to compete with a cleric in spells, but those spells can be very useful to the Paladin. And make sure if you're playing a Paladin, if you have a character who's playing a Paladin, remind him of the spells, or remind yourself of the spells. They can be very useful to you. And Paladins should have a good wisdom and good charisma. They're supposed to be charismatic leaders. Most of the time, the Paladins I've had in my games, whether they were NPCs or players or what have you, they were leaders. Very rarely did I see a Paladin become a follower. I mean, Paladins just fit the leadership role great. They have high wisdom, high charisma, and they're all around pretty good combatants. And one other thing about them, before we end this, there's the big difference between Exalted Paladins and regular Paladins. Exalted Paladins, like I said, they have to be merciful, forgiveness, all that stuff. And the regular Paladins, they're not required to do that, but you know, it's kinda hard to be a Paladin who's not has compassion. They can get pretty cold and calculating type person, and even just get away with murder, so to speak. And I really don't like Paladins being a fighter with a different name. That's why I really, really like the Exalted Paladin, because that sets them apart from the rest of the group. They're exalted, they follow this even stricter doctrine, and they're even gooder or better person for following this. Well, anyways guys, this has been my thoughts on Paladins, which are one of my favorite classes, and this is Dungeon Master Bloba signing off. See you guys next time. Leave a like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more, and you can also suggest what my next video should be. You guys want to see Dungeon Delve, you want to see me do a Let's Play of some RPG game, more class stuff, more spell stuff, and you know, just anything you want to see, leave it in the comments below. See you guys later.